Okay, now let's talk about the subject matter of that NIN registration. Yes, you did get a judgment from the court asking that they extend it by 2 months. But now JAMB are insisting that that is a prerequisite for participants in that matriculation examination. What impact does the judgment you have, does it have any bearing with what JAMB is doing, and how connected is it?
Yeah, yes. What JAMB is doing again is also something that we need to condemn. When you pick up your JAMB form, there is no condition that you must have your this link. You must have name before you can sit for JAMB. There is no such agreement. There is no such understanding. So I see no reason why at this juncture of our national life that people who want to write an exam, you now make it compulsory for them to have NIN. And if they don't have NIN, they cannot write for JAMB. That is clearly a breach of their right. And I'm saying that if there is any particular JAMB candidate that is being threatened by such an order from JAMB registrar, he should be able to make a move quickly so that we can have this matter traced out by the judicial system. I have gotten an order. And then that order is very profound. There are many things that the court said. The court said that the ultimatum given last December, 2 weeks of ultimatum for our numbers to be deactivated, was a clear violation of my right to freedom of expression. Said it, the court said it. It was also a clear violation of my right to own my property. The court said it's clearly a violation. It's a threat to my ownership of property as prescribed in the Constitution. It's also that it's a clear violation of my right to life. Oh, you need to read that judgment. It's a very comprehensive judgment. I've sent it, to all the media houses. You need to read that judgment. The judge was so bold enough to make such profound statement and profound pronouncement that will stand the test of time. And so it is clearly a violation of one's right for you to be asked to do certain things that you were not even aware when you were registering your SIM card. When we were registering our SIM card, we had this understanding with the the network providers, that you have to provide some of the biometrics. You did. You provided all the information they needed. There was no time somebody told you that later in the day that you don't have SIM, then that number will be deactivated. All of a sudden, you now made such a pronouncement and then given an ultimatum. And I said that ultimatum is clearly unnecessary. In as much as all of us, I agree, that we should have our identification as a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Why must I undergo such a harrowing experience? Why must I be punished? Why must I face stress in order for me to get that done? And then why must you even ask me to go and breach the protocol, which you have already set up, because of the COVID-19 pandemic all over the country? You're asking me now to go and cluster in a crowd of people that may be, carriers of that disease, and then endanger my life, all in a bid for me to get a identification number. It's clearly uncalled for, and something that I think that the government have to do a rethink, and change their mind and do the proper thing.
So is the court asking that your rights should not be violated for the next 2 months?
Yes, that's what the court said. The court said, now in the light of the fact that I have said that the ultimatum will actually work untold hardship to my person and millions of Nigerians who are not yet linked to NIN, that particular right should not be violated. That issue of ownership of property should not be violated. Freedom of expression should not be violated. So my life to live exist should not also
I get that.
be violated.
So I'm trying to ask, so after 2 months, what next?
Now, I have written a letter, and that letter, I have addressed that letter to the Attorney General, and I have copied the minister, I have copied the NCC, I have copied all the service providers, that they must look at this particular issue of registration with NIMC. That it is important we extend the deadline. We must extend it to up to a year, because that is what I actually asked for. I asked for a year from the court. So the court said maybe 2 months was sufficient, but I don't think it's also sufficient. As long as these people have not diversified this registration process and then putting everyone to cluster in one location, and then endangering their lives, contrary to even the protocol that the government itself has established, that they should do this in case by case basis. Look at it. How many have actually registered after the deadline? Are you satisfied that this is the proper thing to do to remove people from expressing themselves, for taking away their property, from even endangering their life? Is it proper? Can't you be reasonable enough in your government policy to extend the deadline up to maybe a year or 1.5 years, so that people can, and then diversify the process, because it's also not only, extending the deadline, but you must also diversify that process and make sure that many Nigerians come into the net or having the NIN numbers. So that is the way this thing should be done, and not what is presently playing out. The government is making it look as if, we want to punish Nigerians, we want to make them suffer, and that this particular feeling we have, that government always take pleasure in suffering Nigeria and making sure that when they see Nigerians suffer, there is this intrinsic joy they derive, from seeing Nigerians suffer. No, it shouldn't be that way. Government policy is about the people. So if the people are crying, we should be, humane enough and patriotic enough to look into their complaints. So I'm saying that government, even with the letter I've written, should not even wait until that. They should extend it beyond even 1 year or a year at most, allowing people to register appropriately. That is my suggestion and my plea.
So you're saying that that judgment has not been enforced or obeyed by the NIMC, NCC, and the ministry?
No. When you get the judgment, you have to get what you call certified true copy of that judgment and serve the defender or respondents in the matter. Now, what I did yesterday was to ensure that I got a copy of that judgment on Monday. So I now wrote official letter to the Attorney General, who happens to be the Chief Legal Officer of the Federation, in order to advise the other respondents to ensure that there is full compliance with the judgment of the court. And I know that this government will never disobey that. It will be very dangerous for them to ignore that judgment. So I would expect the minister before 9th of or 6th of April, which is the time they extended it this into, that they should be able to make another pronouncement that in the light of this judgment of the court that they are further extending this added to a year. That is what I asked them to do, or to the timeline that the court itself has actually pronounced.
So this 2 months extension should start ideally after the previous extension that was given elapses, right?
I did that should be, but the judge himself in the pronouncement she made said that the timeline starts from 23rd of March when she delivered her judgment, and not from the 6th of April. I would have expected her to say from that time when they have extended it to, that should be the timeline. But she said from 23rd of March, meaning that the decision should end sometime in May. But in my letter that I have written openly to the Attorney General, I have also sent it letter to Abuja, that they should actually consider extending this time, not even of 2 months now, but at least 1 year, to allow Nigerians to be registered. They should not see us, suffer, and they should not derive any joy in seeing Nigerians suffer. If you see what you guys report every day about people who undergo the process, to register, it's clearly harrowing. It's not something that anyone should, should be happy about. People are really complaining. Sometimes the structures are not there. The facilities are not there. Lightning, and even the computer. So many complaints. If you see people who go there to register, what they are saying, what they are passing through, is something that no serious government should be happy about. So they should be patriotic enough and humane enough to consider a further extension that would be very acceptable to Nigerians. And Nigerians are making effort. If you see the number of people, going to those places to register, they are making effort to have this thing done. So they should appreciate what Nigerians are doing, but they should not in any way derive pleasure in seeing them suffer. That is my plea. And I think the court says so. If you read that judgment, the court also felt that, look, why this deadline? Why this ultimatum? Why are you doing this? Are you not really putting these people under severe hardship? Are you pleasing? Is it pleasing for you to do this? And what joy are you deriving doing this? You need to read that judgment of justice.
Oh yes, the judgment was quite comprehensive, really, and going through it just goes to show that you can achieve a lot in the judiciary when we put our minds to it in this country. But now bringing this back to JAMB, because you've spoken about Nigerians getting their SIM cards, and there was no agreement in the first place saying that if you don't have your NIN, your SIM card will be barred at some point. So for JAMB as well, are you saying that it will be a violation of the rights of the prospective candidates if JAMB insists that without NIN, it will not be registered? Mr. Obani, are you still there with us? Okay.
Interesting, but remember, JAMB did give some reasons, so we're wondering if those reasons will fall flat on the face of the law, because if he's saying it's not written in the laws, it's a violation. So it suggests that the reasons notwithstanding, the law is the law. So who knows? Because
I think one of the challenges that particular, let me use the word request of the federal government or order of the federal government, whichever one comes, is, look, we're supposed to be appealing to people to do this, not commanding, not ordering. And I think that's what really is the problem here. So, I don't know, you want to ask Mr.
I think we have
question
Mr. Obani back. So I was asking if JAMB insists that without a NIN, you will not be registered, will it also be a violation of rights just with the SIM card? Is this the same here?
Hello.
Okay, good, we have you back. So I was asking about the JAMB's order, decision to ensure that students or candidates have their NIN. Will this be a violation of their rights if JAMB insists that no NIN, no registration? Oh dear. Okay, Mr. Obani, can you unmute your microphone so we can hear you? Mr. Obani, we still can't hear you. Oh, great, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
There is no nexus. There's no nexus whatsoever. I want to, sit for exam. And that exam is something that helps my educational pursuit, in life. You are not asking me that if I don't have my registration, with a particular agency, I cannot sit for exam. I don't see the nexus at all. You see, we must begin to tell people who are in government that they must not derive pleasure in seeing Nigerians suffer. They must not. There is nothing wrong in what you are doing, in making sure that Nigerians are registered, and then, we've been saying it. How can a country in the first century, we don't have data, Nigerians in that, and all that? You can commit one crime in Agege and disappear somewhere in Ikeja and nobody will see you for years. It doesn't happen anywhere like that anywhere in the world. But we encourage government to do what they are doing. But must government now subject us to some level of harrowing experience and stress, all in the bid to fulfill government policy? There is no need for it. This JAMB is coming up in June, and you're now telling Nigerians how many Nigerians have not been registered that they must have name before they sit for JAMB or write for JAMB. It is wrong. It's a wrong policy. It doesn't make sense at all. As I said earlier, there is no nexus. There's no nexus, between this and this.
All right, Mr. Bani.
For exam, and we must have name. And
all right,
you cannot write exam.
We have to
in this 21st century. So
we have to anchor that point. We do thank you very much indeed for your perspectives. And Mr. Monday Obani, former second vice president of the NBA. Well, back in a moment, we'll look at some of your responses when we return. Stay with us.